is? Welcome once again to another review from your boy. On this episode of NXT really popping stuff, we got the beginning of the Dusty Rhodes Women's Tag Team Classic, first one ever. You know that first one. We got the fight pit. It's just a platform and some steel. Ain't no ropes or nothing. It's just steel. And then we got a lizard on the neck. My name is Jordan Moser, and this is your NXT Recap and Review. First off, in the night, we do have our first match from the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic of the evening. We got the Team of the Way, represented by Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory, versus Kushida and Leon Ruff. Really good tag team action all around, especially considering these two teams didn't extensively tag a lot prior to the tournament, so this is definitely just a good tag team match that they came up with. We see Kushida at the beginning somewhat as the face of Peril, just getting worked over before Leon Ruff does get the tag in and comes in and clean house. Literally, Wade Barrett said it on commentary, he never stops moving. Like, even when he's like pacing and stuff like that, he doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. We do see once we come back from commercial break that Ruff is getting destroyed. Like, he's getting worked over until he hits that springboard cutter from the middle rope in the corner, which should be his finisher, by the way. That is such a beautiful move. But then we see Kushida get that hot tag in, and he just comes in cleaning house. It's so great how he can be both fast and technical at the same time and just go after those body parts. It's incredible, hitting DDTs on the outside. That run is eventually stopped by Austin Theory, who does, in a nice little move, he hits him over his knee just with the breaker, and then Johnny Gargano hits the super kick out of the corner, only for a 2 count. We do see at the end of this match coming where we see Johnny Gargano going for that super kick in the middle with Theory holding Kushida down. Ruff does interfere. He gets in at the last second, takes out both of them, and takes out Theory with a dive on the outside to take him out for the time being. And then back in the ring, Kushida hits that right hand. He hits an arm trap. He traps that arm and hits what looks like a Northern Lights suplex. He hits that suplex. 1, 2, 3. Johnny Gargano doesn't kick out, and Kushida and Leon Ruff move on in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And Kushida has pinned the North American champion again. This is the second time that he's done this, twice now. All right, so I fully expect Kushida, he's going to get that North American title opportunity coming up, probably at TakeOver coming up in February. But all in all, solid tag team action. They really merged and meshed together really well. I like what both teams did kind of coming out of this. Kushida and Ruff will take on the Grizzled Young Veterans coming up in the tournament. I do expect them to lose that match, but definitely solid action here from those two teams. Next up, we do get a short video package from Pete Dunne, basically describing why he's going after Finn Balor. He's like, hey man, our come-ups were pretty much the same, but you left, like you dipped. Like you went to NXT, you went to the main roster and you did your thing and you came back like everything was all good. And Pete's like, I built a brand, bro. Like I did this, I ran this, where is my shine? And so he says it was inevitable that they would just come and meet together and finally face off in the ring. And eventually Pete Dunne just says that Balor is taking part in his legacy. I cannot wait for this match. Pete Dunne has never been much of a talker, but right here, he did the thing. So I'm mad excited. He got me hyped. Next up, we do have a match between Karrion Kross and Ashanti the Adonis, which went exactly how you think it would. Short squash match. Kross wins with that running forearm to the back of the head, which I hope will be a little bit more impactful. It didn't really feel that impactful through the screen. But he gets the 1, 2, 3 in the win. He attacks his tag partner Desmond Troy after the match for who knows what reason, pretty much. And then we eventually learned that Ashanti the Adonis, from the injuries he sustained throughout the match, isn't able to compete in his Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic match on 205 Live this Friday. So maybe we get another partner or another team coming in, who knows? But short stuff here, not really much to make of it. We'll definitely see where Kross kind of goes from here, what his next major feud is. And after this match, we did have a video package with MSK kind of detailing their come up and their win next week and kind of moving on to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament. Pretty much the only thing I got from this little package is that Nash is trying too hard to be funny sometimes, and I still don't know what MSK means. Like I saw the misunderstood on the shirt, so I'm guessing that's the M, but I don't know after that. Like misunderstood street kids, like I don't know. Help me out, WWE, please. Let me know, please. Next up in the night, we got our second match from the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic of the evening. We got Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik Lucha House Party against Imperium. You want to talk about a clash of styles? Like that's definitely what this is. We see Imperium just with the strength and the strikes and the grappling all over the place, and then we see Lucha House Party with just fast moves, drop kicks, even the occasional lifting up Gran Metalik on the shoulder and having him dive. It's beautiful every time, nice every time. We do eventually see at the beginning of this match, we see Lince Dorado going for a dive on the outside. Eichner catches him, just slams him into the apron and puts him down on the ground with a body slam. And then we see a double drop kick in the corner to Gran Metalik from Imperium as we go to our commercial break. Coming back from break, we do see Dorado being worked over by Imperium as the heel team does. He eventually does get the tag in to Gran Metalik, and he comes in. He is flying, boy. Like the hurricanranas, moonsaults, all that. Like definitely one of the best high flyers in the company. Needs to be utilized more, definitely. But his run is eventually stopped. We see Imperium hit an assisted DDT in the corner, only for a 2 count broken up by Dorado. But we do see the end of this match really nice. Metalik takes out Eichner on the outside with the moonsault, and Dorado goes up top. He hits that nice shooting star splash on the Bartel. A 1-2-3 win for Lucha House Party. They are moving on in the Tag Team Classic, and after the match, we see Alexander Wolf of Imperium show up on the ramp and just kind of, they do their little salute, like the boom, yeah, that thing, where they kind of acknowledge each other. But this is a really good match. Definitely not the result I expected in any way. Imperium, I know it's someone that NXT is really fond of. They really hype them up and like put them on a nice pedestal. I didn't expect them to lose in the first round here. I actually expected them to probably make it to the semifinals, but definitely not upset with the match at all. Definitely good tag team action. Definitely, I'm glad Lucha House Party is getting some free, like give them some shine, please, because they are definitely one of the best high flyers in the company and the world as well. So I'm definitely glad that they're getting their shine. But as a match, awesome. Not too much of a fan of the decision, but all in all, I can't complain. This is pretty good. Short little video segment I wanted to mention here as well. After this match, we saw Champa and Thatcher weighing in for the fight pit coming up tonight. They kind of get into an altercation as they're doing a face-off. This felt very UFC to me, and I don't know if I like that as much because it's a WWE thing. Like, don't try to be UFC. Don't try to make your money or copy off of UFC, because that's really what it felt like. But on to the match later on, of course. Next up, we got the beginning of the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Beth and William Regal are here to kind of introduce the whole thing. Beth Phoenix is just talking about the women's division from NXT and how they kind of blossomed on the main roster and how that's kind of developed the women's evolution up to this point to eventually the creation of the tag team tournament. All 8 teams are showed and all that kind of as an introduction. And we see our first match. We got Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter, the KCs, against Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. At the beginning of the match, Toni Storm and Kaden Carter are starting to kind of get more technical. It's kind of showing the dichotomy between the two teams. One's a lot bigger, and then Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter are a lot smaller. But just a lot of good technical work at the beginning. We see Casey and Martinez eventually tag in as well, and Martinez is working over Catanzaro going into the commercial break. Coming back from break, we do see Casey still getting worked over, but she eventually does hit a hurricanrana from the top rope on Martinez. A Storm tags in to try to take over, but she eventually just peeks through the legs of Toni Storm and gets the tag to Kaden Carter. She comes in with a really nice hot tag. She was definitely looking better here than we've seen her in a minute, if not at all. So she was definitely looking good. Casey eventually hits a spinning dive on the outside to Martinez, but we eventually do see on later in the match, Toni Storm is kind of in control. She has a submission on and just in the other corner, so the rest, his attention is diverted. So we see the NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai. She comes in, she takes Martinez off the apron. She just throws her over the table and she's like, get out of here. Like, you don't attack me and don't not expect no repercussions, no consequences. Come on now. And Toni Storm is just bewildered, like, where'd my partner go? What happened? She eventually gets taken out. Kaden Carter traps her legs pretty much and just twists them. And then we see one of the most amazing moves I've ever seen. I do not know what to call it. I was first gonna call it a Phoenix Senton, but I watched that thing back. It was like corkscrew, it was Phoenix Splash, it was moonsault. I have no idea what to call this thing, but Casey Catanzaro hits that from the top rope in the corner. 1, 2, 3. It is a win for Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. This was the best they have ever looked in their entire times in NXT, as a team or individually as well. Like, they really showed up. I definitely like the story that they played with just a smaller team, just trying to take that advantage over. I loved it. I'm glad that it doesn't injure either Mercedes or Storm coming out of this match. We saw Mercedes taken out, and then Storm, she didn't have her partner, so she had nobody to save her. She had no help. So it definitely doesn't take away from either woman and what they did throughout the match, but this was pretty awesome. I like this upset. This upset was really nice. I like this. Next up, in a little backstage thing, we got Finn Balor. He comes into William Regal's office. He's like, hey man, I want Pete Dunne, but I know that's not how the game works. I get it. I know how the game works. So I will take Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch first. And Regal's like, all right, but you know you got to find a partner, right? It can't be no handicap match. Can't put you out there like that. And Balor's like, I have no friends. Like, what you want me to do? And so he goes backstage, finds the Undisputed Era's locker room, and they all stare at each other for a really long time, very intensely. And he eventually just upped to Kyle O'Reilly. He's like, hey man, you win. And he's like, yeah, I'm in, champ, after a really long pause as well. Really, their interactions are very long-winded. I don't know what it is, but they're just very intense. We'll see Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly facing off against the tag team champions, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, next week. Next up, we do got a match between Bronson Reed and Tyler Russ. We see Bronson Reed come into the ring. He looks cool, he looks all good, everything, and he's got a toy lizard on his neck. I love Bronson Reed, so somebody please tell him, please, take that thing off your neck. It does not look cool. It does not at all. But we see just the dichotomy of this matchup. It's Russ's submission style going up against Reed's strength, and Reed's strength is taking everything over. We hear Bivens on the outside. He's like, hey man, use your head, be smart, come on now, you know what to do. And so Russ is pretty much going after that left arm for the duration of the match, but it really don't work. We see Reed eventually hit a choke slam, only for a 2 count, and then near the end of the match, we see Russ kind of in control. He goes for a DDT, but Reed reverses that, hits a senton, and then eventually goes up top. Tsunami splash, beautiful diving splash, a 1-2-3 win for Bronson Reed. And then we see Bivens after the match. He's like, hey, like, let me pick your battles for you. Like, I got you. You obviously don't know what you're doing. Let me do this. So they was like, all right, cool. But yeah, this is what it needed to be. Nice short match. We see Bronson Reed just coming out on top. He definitely needs that momentum carrying him forward. He's definitely one of the next big things coming up in NXT. So this is exactly what it needed to be. Next up, we do got a short little segment from Legado del Fantasma. Escobar, he's pretty much out there. He's like, hey man, I'm the best champion in NXT. And he kind of not lying, you know, he's not been out for long stretches like Balor and Karrion Kross, and he's defended his title. He's been carrying his division. Like, he really is one of the best champions in NXT, not gonna lie. But we see him talking to Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza just about them eventually winning the NXT Tag Team Championships too, and just being a family of champions, everything all good. But they are facing Lucha House Party in the Dusty Rhodes Classic in the coming weeks, and so they came out and they was getting some. They was just fighting. Escobar, he tries to leave the ring. He's like, man, let them fight, let them do it. And we see the return of Kurt Stallion, of all people. I'm glad they didn't forget about him, because he definitely was #1 contender like 2 months ago. Like, I didn't forget. Like, he definitely won that match a couple of months ago. So I'm glad he finally came back. He got some retribution, and we eventually find out in a little backstage segment that him and Escobar are facing off for the Cruiserweight title next week. So I'm glad that they're finally doing this, because it's been a long time coming, definitely, but definitely glad for the feud that's developing there between those 6, of course. Last up in our main event, we do have the Fight Pit. Yes, I've been fiending for this. I will tell you, this is a little bit of an awkward and just kind of slow start to the match. We see them fighting on top of the platform instead of actually in the ring. Like, I don't know why they started on top, but they were pretty much fighting up there for the good duration before the commercial break. And it was just really awkward and really like simple action for the most part. One move, eventually Champa does get Thatcher under the bars, and he like lifts him up for that slingshot against the bar that was set up. But yeah, this was really weird up top action. They were trying to throw each other out of the pit at some point. I'm like, that defeats the whole purpose of the pit, really. So first part of this match was just kind of slow action, but it definitely picked up in the second half. Once they got to the ring below, all bets were off. Like, everything was crazy. Yeah, once we came back from break and they were actually in the ring, business picked up. Like we see Champa throwing Thatcher all around the ring. We see him eventually hit a running knee to his head with his head up against the cage as well, which is really nice. And then later on, we see Thatcher actually just getting into submission work. Like you were in his territory when you were actually in the ring. So just working on those submissions, the joint manipulation to the hand. Like that joint was really gruesome, but really cool at the same time. Can't dug it. We see him get a sleeper hold on as well. And Champa, he ain't no ropes. He ain't got no way to really break the hold. So he kind of slips that foot under, kind of a little low blow, just to knock him down. And then as Thatcher is trying to get to Champa and we see the ref kind of holding him back, we see a really nice and imaginative spot where Champa uses the ref pretty much as a rope in a sense, and he hits the Widow's Bell with the ref as a rope. That was really, really cool spot. Didn't think they would pull something out like that in the fight pit. Thatcher does eventually make it back to his feet at the count of 9, but Ciampa's not playing around after a bunch of stiff shots and just ramming his head against the cage a little bit more. He hits the fairy tale ending as well, but he's not going for the knockout this time. He's like, nah, man, I'm in his domain. I gotta beat him by submission. So he locks on the sleeper as well. They all on the ground. They're struggling. Thatcher does eventually get out of that, and then we actually get to the end of this match where they're fighting in the corner. Ciampa is pretty much wedged in that corner by Ciampa with his legs all caught up. We see one leg just jammed in the corner, and then we see Thatcher with the other just get that stretch muffler across the neck, just wrenching on that knee that has been surgically repaired a lot for Ciampa, and he taps out. He taps out really very swiftly, and Thatcher wins the fight pit again. He is undefeated in the fight pit, which was the right decision in my view. You want somebody who is just the master of this match, so eventually when they do the match and he loses, it creates a whole new star. Like I definitely think that the end of this match, like the last 10 minutes, was definitely the match that picked up. Like the first part of the match, I could do without. But the last 10 minutes of this match really picked up. Definitely good action from those two. Definitely keeps both of them strong. We saw after the match, they were kind of just kneeling and just looking and staring at respect with each other and just respect for each other. So I thought that was awesome. That's what I eventually thought it would lead to between these two miserable son of a guns, because that's the only thing it could really lead to. But definitely good action all around for the fight pit. And that is your main event and your entire show for NXT. Solid action. This was a very good episode of NXT, I cannot deny. The Dusty Rhodes Classic just continuing, gave us a couple upsets, gave us our first really good match and kind of showing the signs of what the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is going to look like. And then a really nice, while kind of awkward at the beginning, definitely a great fight pit match to kind of end off the night a little bit. Just saw a lot of stories move along. So yeah, this is a really good episode of NXT. Cannot wait for next week. But outside of that, that is your boy. That is me once again. You will see me up in different videos throughout the week. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your granddaddy. I know he used to watch wrestling, so tell him, please. That is going to be it from me. Definitely contact us. Tell us what you want to see. Contact us if you want any prayer requests, anything like that. We got you. That is going to be it from your boy. I'm out. Peace. Love God. Take care of yourselves. Happy Martin Luther King Day. I know that already passed, but all good to go. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.